Tonight, the dramatic fall from grace. The man once second in line to the presidency, tonight his decision. Possible prison time now after charges over alleged hush money, years after he was a popular high school wrestling coach. Breaking developments today, the president reversing course, keeping more American troops in Afghanistan than he once said. The race for 2016 and Joe Biden tonight, what he's now saying. And Donald Trump and Ben Carson seeing eye to eye their new demand, otherwise threatening to skip the next debate. Chaos at American airports, tens of thousands of passengers held up. The computer glitch involving the terror watch list from Dallas to Washington to New York. And attention holiday shoppers, the huge setback for Walmart tonight that could spell major deals for you. The 4 bargains you might see.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin with that dramatic fall, a bombshell decision from a man who was once one of the most powerful men in Washington, former Speaker of the House Dennis Hastert, and a move that could keep his secrets from coming out in open court, signaling he will plead guilty in a criminal case. Prosecutors accusing Hastert of paying hush money to hide misconduct. That misconduct going back decades to his time as a high school teacher and popular wrestling coach. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross on Hastert's move, the prison time he might now face, and the family tonight saying the truth is out.
The decision today by 73-year-old Dennis Hastert to plead guilty means there will be no trial, and none of his dark secrets will be exposed in open court.
Mr. Speaker.
But in exchange, the former Speaker of the House, once second in line to the presidency, may spend time in prison, the first speaker ever to do so. The charges against Hastert grow out of his role as a popular Illinois high school wrestling coach in the 1970s. Authorities say Hastert sexually abused several teenage boys on the team, and then a few years ago began to pay one of them more than $1 million in hush money to keep quiet.
These boys were 14, 15, 16 years old.
Jolene Burge told ABC News her late brother, Stephen Reinbold, was one of Hastert's victims. Something she learned years later, she says, when her brother told her he was gay.
I asked him, Stevie, when was your first same-sex experience? I mean, he just looked at me and said, it was with Dennis Hastert. And I was stunned. I said, why didn't you ever tell anybody, Stevie? I mean, he was your teacher. Why didn't you ever tell anybody? And he just looked at me and said, who is ever going to believe me? In this town, who is ever going to believe me?
For years, Jolene Burge tried to expose what Dennis Hastert allegedly did. And today she said, even if there is no trial, the world now knows what kind of a man Dennis Hastert is.
He'll plead out and try to make this go away as quickly as he can. And he can do that, but the truth is out.
Authorities say what tripped up Hastert was the recent effort to pay off his victim. He's charged with violating bank laws for the way he handled his huge cash withdrawals and then lying to the FBI about them. He's expected to plead guilty to one of those 2 counts, either one of which, David, usually results in time behind bars. David?
Brian, thank you. Next tonight to the other developing headline today, a reversal from President Obama on Afghanistan, revealing he will now keep far more troops there beyond 2016. That means as many as 5,500 troops will still be there instead of the 1,000 he had planned. Some of the young faces right here tonight. All of this comes amid growing concern about the Taliban strengthening and the recent deadly U.S. airstrike on a Doctors Without Borders hospital. Tonight we have new images of the aftermath at that hospital and the president's explanation why troops will now stay in much larger numbers. ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz.
The 9,800 American troops in Afghanistan today were supposed to start coming home after 14 years of war and more than 2,200 U.S. forces killed. But today, a somber President Obama put a halt to that drawdown.
I've decided to maintain our current posture of 9,800 troops in Afghanistan through most of next year.
And that won't end it. As many as 5,500 will remain into 2017. President Obama has been promising for years that America's involvement in Afghanistan would end.
This year, we will bring America's longest war to a responsible end.
He made the same promise in Iraq and did withdraw. ISIS then swept through large swaths of the country, and U.S. forces are back. In Afghanistan, with the Taliban gaining ground and ISIS becoming a threat, today's decision means U.S. forces can keep targeting extremists and assisting Afghan forces. Aiding Afghan forces is what led in part to the tragedy earlier this month in Kunduz, shown in these new images. U.S. strikes were called in, mistakenly hitting a hospital, leaving dozens of patients and staff dead or missing.
And Martha Raddatz with us live tonight from our Washington bureau. And Martha, we already heard the president apologize after that strike at the hospital, but do we know anything more about the strike, given the Doctors Without Borders had given authorities their coordinates?
They had, David, and officials have said unequivocally U.S. forces would not have intentionally targeted a hospital. So clearly the so-called rules of engagement were not followed. They're trying to find out why not and where that breakdown happened, but we should have answers soon, David.
Martha Raddatz with us again tonight. Martha, thank you. We turn now to breaking news out of Malaysia, word of an arrest that could involve the personal information of U.S. service members. The Department of Justice tonight announcing a suspected hacker from Kosovo under arrest now for helping ISIS. Authorities saying he stole personal information belonging to U.S. service members and federal employees. The U.S. now trying to extradite him back to America. We turn now to the race for 2016 tonight. Vice President Joe Biden asked point blank today, "Can you just tell us when you'll decide?" The clock, of course, ticking for the vice president, as today a prominent Democrat who once said he should follow his heart is now saying it's time to decide. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl with how Biden answered today.
Joe Biden was in full VP mode today, at the president's side in the morning and then awaiting the president of South Korea in the afternoon. But what about the big question?
Are you running for president?
Can you just tell us when you'll decide? Okay, a little louder?
Have you made your decision yet?
Nothing? Nothing at all? A source close to Biden says he's nearing a final decision. Although after Hillary Clinton's strong debate performance, fellow Democrats are growing increasingly impatient. Senator Barbara Boxer, a Clinton supporter who in August said Biden should do whatever is in his heart, is now telling Politico, "I just don't think there's a rationale for his campaign. I think he should endorse Hillary." And today, Clinton got a big endorsement from a member of the Obama-Biden cabinet, Housing Secretary Julian Castro, widely speculated as a possible Clinton running mate.
She has always been there for us. And today, we're here for her.
So what is Biden thinking? His younger brother Frank told the Palm Beach Post today he's having a, quote, dialogue between his head and his heart, and he's not being swayed by outside factors.
The waiting game continues. John Karl live at the White House tonight. And John, I wanted to show everyone at home this image from one of the past Republican debates. Ben Carson there on the left, of course, Donald Trump. And word tonight that Carson and Trump are now threatening to boycott the next debate.
They are, David. They are making demands to change the debate format. For one, they want the Republican candidates to get a chance to make opening statements. The Democrats had a chance to do that in their debate. So far, Republicans have not. And they also want to limit the time to the debate to 2 hours. If those conditions are not met, they say they will boycott the debate.
All right, to be continued. John Karl tonight. John, thanks as always. Next tonight to a computer crash leading to long lines at several airports here in the U.S. That crash involving the terror watch list. Tens of thousands of passengers affected. Images from Dallas there. But this extended to Washington, New York, Boston, and beyond. Here's ABC's David Curley tonight.
Part of the critical security system that checks those coming into the country slowed to a crawl, leaving thousands of travelers in line.
They just said there was a nationwide computer glitch.
More than 20,000 passengers affected at customs.
It's crazy. I never saw anything like this.
The system problem coast to coast, affecting international airports.
Was this a security threat?
I don't think so. They do have redundant systems in place to ensure that bad people can't come into the country.
The problem, those redundant systems are slower, which is why for those thousands of travelers, it was a wait.
We needed to fill out some forms, old school style, and so I filled out the form.
The Customs and Border Protection computer problem lasted for 90 minutes. It took longer for the lines to disappear. Each day, 300,000 passengers passed through the country's airports. Customs and Border Protection tells us there's no indication this was a security breach or a hack, and that the backup systems worked here at Dulles and elsewhere to make sure that passengers were properly screened. David?
David, thank you. Next, the National Weather Service tonight out with the new winter forecast this evening, predicting this year's El Nino will be among the strongest on record. What that could mean for all of us here in a moment. But first to the immediate weather headline at this hour, record heat and drought fueling raging wildfires in Texas. Tonight, the fire burning across 4,000 acres, forcing 400 families from their homes. A state of emergency tonight and several homes already burned to the ground. ABC's Clayton Sandell on the scene.
Military helicopters helping take on a blaze that in 24 hours exploded in size, burning at least 9 homes to the ground. The governor declaring a state of disaster.
This has to be an echo of a nightmare that they faced just a few years ago.
In 2011, the most destructive blaze in Texas history leveled more than 1,600 homes near Bastrop and killed 2 people. It is hot and dry here now, even after record rainfall just this spring. More than 400 homes evacuated.
There's nothing you can do except pray.
And David, you can see these large military helicopters have been dropping water on the smoke and the fire all day. Thousands of gallons. They've made lots of progress, but there's still lots of work to be done. David?
All right, Clayton, thanks. Let's get right to Rob Marciano tracking the heat and the drought, and it doesn't look good.
No, in that part of Texas, David, incredible heat, record heat for this time of year, and it's going to be hot again tomorrow, 92 degrees today, 91 in Austin, and plus gusty winds to the north. That's part of a very strong cold front that's going to bring an end to the growing season for a good chunk of the U.S. Freeze watches and warnings from North Dakota to Michigan, even down to Indianapolis. Look at Chicago tomorrow morning, 33 degrees. We spread the cold to the east on Saturday. The freezing mark in Detroit, 34 degrees in D.C. And yes, there's going to be some snow around the Great Lakes with this real
first taste of winter. In the meantime, El Nino, you were in the newsroom today saying this forecast is interesting.
Yeah, NOAA releasing its winter forecast, and El Nino a big driver. So we're going to see a lot of storms across the southwest, so cooler and wetter than normal across much of the south. And after 2 very harsh winters, there's a good chance, David, that the northern states may get a slightly warmer than average winter.
I'm going to try to hold you to that. Yeah, Rob Marciano, great to have you. Next tonight, to the case of parents behaving badly, making national headlines tonight. The children now paying the price. One school canceling the season. Here's ABC's Matt Gutman.
Tonight, this youth football field deserted. The season canceled.
This year it got kind of bad with the parents fighting and yelling from the stands, fist fighting.
We've seen parents behaving badly in other towns, even fighting. This one caught on exclusive video from our San Diego station KGTV just weeks ago. And that's what happened in Mount Pleasant. But then officials say things took a darker turn. Officials first rescheduling a game because of anonymous threats, and now, this week, bullet casings found at the field gates, with the names of officials and coaches written on them.
I have no idea where it's coming from, but it's got to stop. The kids have more sense than the adults here.
As for the kids, they don't have playoffs this year, but they do have a lesson for their parents.
This is not the way I handle situations. Usually the way I handle stuff like this is just stay calm.
It's still a mystery who left those bullet casings on the field, but we have learned that parents are being interviewed about the incident. Of course, the real victims in all of this are those kids who don't get to play in their Super Bowl this year. David?
Matt Gutman with us again tonight. Matt, thanks. Now to a headline involving Social Security tonight. The government saying that Social Security recipients will get no cost of living increase next year. Those annual raises tied to inflation, but inflation is down because of falling gas prices. The decision affecting nearly 65 million Americans, including retirees and the disabled. And to another headline that will affect millions of American shoppers tonight. It involves Walmart. The retail giant now expecting lower earnings next year. The value of that stock plunging on the news. The biggest stockholders, 4 members of the Walton family, their net worth $122 billion, losing more than $11 billion in a single day. Walmart losing out to Amazon and other online merchants. ABC's chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis on what it all means for you, the American shopper.
Tonight, bad news for investors could be the ultimate gift to shoppers this holiday season. Walmart stock hit again today after wiping out $21 billion in value earlier this week. The world's largest retailer facing cutthroat competition from online giant Amazon. And that means even deeper discounts this Christmas.
They've had to be very aggressive on price. They've had to focus on making sure that they're priced the same as Amazon.
And it's not just Walmart. Across the board, retailers are competing on price. As soon as one cuts prices, Everyone else follows, many already offering everything from layaway to price matching to friends and family discounts. Experts even predicting 30 to 40% discounts will soon be standard fare.
As we get closer to the holiday, and then certainly after Christmas, they'll be 40%, 50% off.
Really feeling the heat, Walmart, because people are shopping online more than ever.
More than ever, David, but here's what's the interesting part of all of this. Even though we are shopping more online, we're still this holiday season going to spend 6 times as much in stores as we do online.
All right, Rebecca Jarvis, always great to have you. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. Former NBA champ Lamar Odom. We have new details about his condition tonight. The former star reportedly fighting for his life, and you will hear the 911 call after he was found unconscious. Also news tonight for some smartphone owners. This will get your attention. The popular app that might be to blame for that drain on your battery. Most of us have that app. And the space telescope, scanning the stars for signs of life on other planets. Well, tonight the scientist who says they may have found an alien structure in space. We'll be right back. Next tonight here, the condition of former NBA champ Lamar Odom. The former star reportedly fighting for his life. And tonight we are now hearing the 911 call after he was found unconscious outside Las Vegas. ABC's Kana Whitworth is there.
Is he conscious? No.
Tonight, Lamar Odom reportedly on life support, more than 48 hours since he was found unconscious and alone in a Nevada brothel. Employees frantically calling 911.
I need to hurry, please, because he's got blood coming out of his nose, white stuff coming out of his mouth.
Staffers at the Love Ranch say Lamar was there for 4 days drinking and took at least 10 tabs of legal but unregulated herbal Viagra they sold on site. They also say he told one of the girls he had used cocaine prior to his arrival at the ranch.
Somebody just came up to me and said that he apparently had some cocaine on and that he did this on Saturday.
Spokesperson Richard Hunter talked with the 911 operators after Lamar was found in the ranch's VIP suite, telling us today the former NBA champion's mood changed suddenly the night before.
He did get a phone call, and that phone call had seemed to bum him out. He had told the girls that he wanted to spend that night alone.
Lamar was rushed to the hospital. Khloe Kardashian, former teammates, and his children hurried to be by his bedside. His daughter tweeting this picture with the caption, "Please don't leave us."
As of tonight, Khloe and Lamar's divorce has not been finalized. People magazine reporting that she is the one right now making all of his medical decisions. David?
Kana Whitworth tonight. Kana, thanks. When we come back here, what is draining the battery on your smartphone? It turns out it could be an app that many of us have. Got our attention today. Also, the major airline whose name we might never see again. The last flight about to be flown tomorrow. And the space telescope searching for life on other planets. The respected scientist who now believes they have found an alien object light years away. Back up. To the index of other news tonight, and tomorrow marks the last flight for U.S. Airways. It officially becomes part of the American Airlines fleet tomorrow. The name and logo for U.S. Airways will now disappear. The Facebook app could be the reason why your smartphone battery dies so quickly. Turns out the social network continues to run in the background even when you force it to close. Facebook tonight saying it is aware of the problem in some cases and they are working on a way to fix it. The truth is out there, as they say. Scientists say the Kepler Space Telescope scanning the stars has found an unexplained flickering light 1,500 light years away. But Jason Wright, an astronomer from Penn State University, now suggesting it could be a possible alien structure equipped with solar panels. His theory tonight. When we come back here, the famous gorilla born in San Francisco who knows sign language. What the gorilla signed after these kittens were presented in the box. Finally tonight, the famous gorilla Coco, who knows sign language and has never had a baby gorilla of her own. So she was presented with a box of kittens. And how did she react? Here's ABC's David Wright.
Coco the gorilla has always loved babies, but never had one of her own. So for her birthday, the Gorilla Foundation brought her a litter of kittens.
Sweet.
Coco fell in love with the gray one. The black one fell in love with her.
Oh, put on your head. Oh, put the kitty on her head. Yes, that's what you wanted.
Coco knows how to sign the words cat and baby. She learned sign language from her human companion, Dr. Penny Patterson. They've been the best of friends ever since. Over the years, this gorilla celebrity has shared a giggle with Robin Williams and expressed sadness when they told her Williams had died. Now 44 years old, Coco is bridging the species barrier again. David Wright, ABC News, New York.
Coco and the kittens tonight. And thank you for watching. I'm David Muir. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night.